Yes. Welcome to another edition of Go Long Live. I am Barry Long, the second, not the first, not the third. I am the second. We are live on CoachellaValley.com, live on today's California.com, live on today's Canada.com, live all over the Twitterverse, all over the metaverse, all over the universe. We appreciate everybody for tuning in and for commenting. We, of course, are CoachellaValley.com's interactive national sports show. And we are live with me, your host, Barry Long II. And today I got my Coachella Valley Firebirds hat on, trying to represent for the local AHL hockey team that we have out here. Shout out to Bill Senso, who I got a chance to hang out with last night at O'Kane's, watching the Monday Night Football game. We're definitely going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about some of the other games that we did not get to talk about yesterday that happened in the NFL. Tomorrow, we are talking some NBA. On Friday, we have two games coming up for the College National Playoff. We've got Alabama versus Cincinnati, and we've got Michigan going up against Georgia. So we'll be talking about those more closer to Friday. We are not going to have a show on Friday. That is New Year's Eve. But that is when the games will be playing at 12:30. So it'll be right during the same time the show would have been. That's where I'll be. Right now, I just want to say thank you to Craig Campbell for allowing us to use the platform. Also want to thank Sage Alvarez for all the hard work that he does behind the scenes. We love you guys. And thank CoachellaValley.com for allowing us to use the platform. Now, I know a lot of you guys were watching Monday Night Football last night, sitting there just like, damn, this is one of the worst games that we've seen in a while, because we had Ian Book, who has not been with the team that very long. He's been with the team about a week and a half, and he just knew that he was going to start today. Or a couple days ago. So they put him out there in the game. They don't have a lot of players. The Saints, I believe, had 21 players out, just to name a few. They had Taysom Hill, Trevor Siemian, Malcolm Jenkins, Demario Davis, Caden Ellis, James Carpenter. I mean, you name it, they had people missing. So, but I found myself just sitting there watching the game, and I'm like, damn, this is what sports has kind of become. Like, you remember when the pandemic first began, and we were like, man, how long are we going to be wearing masks? And a lot of people said that when the vaccine comes out, that's when all the protocols and all the wearing masks indoors and all that stuff was going to cease and was going to just relax. And it hasn't. We've got the vaccines out. We're rolling out the boosters, and still we're finding that the numbers are going up. I'm not sure exactly why the numbers are going up, but the mask mandates are back. I live in California. We are live from CoachellaValley.com, live in Coachella, California. Is the actual city that I'm in. And if many of you that are on today's California, you live in the state of California, and you're under the thumb of Governor Gavin Newsom, and he has once again mandated that we all wear masks indoors. So stuff is starting to get ramped up as far as Omicron. And Omicron, I mean, that sounds like a transformer. It sounds like that sounds scary. So I don't want to deal with any of these more Epsilon, Omicron, these variants, these remixes that COVID keeps dropping. But all I know is that the numbers keep going up, and it is crazy. And I find myself watching the game yesterday, and I'm like, man, maybe this is going to be a part of everyday life, not just with COVID, but with sports in general. Like, we're going to have to deal with COVID for a long, long time. And I'm not sure. You see 21 guys out for this team. You had 20 guys out for the Ravens versus the Bengals game, which was a decisive game for who's going to be leading the division. You had so many players out in the NBA right now. You've got coaches out. You got announcers out, broadcasters out. It is just ridiculous how many people are being affected right now by COVID. And we sound shallow when we just think about it in a sports kind of way, but this is what we do here on Go Long Live. This is an interactive sports show. We talk sports. So, we're not here to talk politics. But at the end of the day, this is just what I was just sitting there thinking, like last night watching the game, and this is what life is going to be like from now on. We're always going to have this problem. So you might as well just throw, COVID. It's going to be around for a long time. And it just kind of sucks that this is the way that life is. And we see from Shirley McComb Swain that they just canceled the Holiday Bowl today. Man. So they're canceling bowl games now. And you got players that want to opt out and sit out, whether it's because they don't want to mess up their future in the NFL, or whether it's because of COVID and they don't want to get COVID. But yeah, it's just crazy. And there's so many different bowl games let me just say this. They need to stop with some of these bowl names. I saw that there was a Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, y'all. A Jimmy Kimmel Bowl. Jimmy Kimmel got his own damn bowl. I cannot wait until hopefully one day I get my own bowl, a very long bowl. But yeah, we have too many people with COVID. Shirley says we have too many with COVID, and it's just sad. But this is the way that life is going to be. And this is the way sports is going to be. It's just going to be no different than what our everyday lives. So I watched the game last night, and I was just so disappointed. And, watching this Monday night game, you see a guy like Ian Book. He is so unprepared for his very first NFL start, his NFL debut. He's got his family there in attendance, all wearing Ian Book jerseys. They just bought them that day or had to go get them custom made because I'm not sure that they were even printing Ian Book jerseys before that game. But it was just supposed to be such a special moment for he and his family, and he's thrust into his NFL debut. Whether or not he would have gotten the opportunity if it hadn't been for COVID, I'm not here to say that, but I'm just saying that he was so unprepared for that game, and going up against a tough defense in the Dolphins, you just felt so bad for him. And it wasn't just him out there by himself that didn't know the playbook and wasn't prepared for this game. It was all the other guys that were on the team because the Saints barely had any starters that were there at the beginning of the season dressing out for them yesterday. So it was a terrible, terrible game for Ian Book. He threw 20 times. He only completed 12 of his passes, 135 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He got sacked 8 times, should be 9 times, but he went out of bounds, and they don't consider that a sack. But he got beat. He got battered and bruised yesterday in front of his mama. And it was just a terrible, terrible debut for him. One he'll always remember. And, who said it would be easy? The NFL, this is not Notre Dame. He had a wonderful career as a 4-year starter in Notre Dame. Ian Book, if you're familiar with college football, you're familiar with the name Ian Book. He was good. He was great for Brian Kelly and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. But he had a tough road for his first NFL debut. And, if you thought if any coach could get a guy prepared for his NFL debut under these circumstances, it would be Sean Payton. And we saw that clearly that wasn't the case. But Miami did not look that great on the offensive side of the ball themselves. Tua had some plays where he threw, and you were like, man, what is he throwing at, or what is he doing? And he had some where he made some great plays, and he extended the plays with his legs, or he made a couple great throws, and that's really all he had to do. The story really yesterday was all about Jalen Waddle, and Jalen Waddle, who we knew coming out of Alabama was going to be a problem in the NFL. He just had faced a lot of criticism for being undersized. For he and Devontae Smith were both undersized wide receivers that come into the NFL, and they proved that just because they were a little bit smaller than other wide receivers, they could still play in this league. And Jalen Waddle definitely proved that yesterday. 10 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. But he was used in so many different aspects of the offense. Put him in the slot, put him on the outside, put him in the backfield. It was just great to see this guy really ascend amongst all the things that have been going on in this NFL season. Now, the Miami Dolphins, if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, you are riding high today. You guys have won 7 in a row. You started off 1-7. All right, now let me take a breath. You started off 1-7. All right. And you are blessed enough to now be 8-7, won 7 in a row. And it has been a beautiful thing to watch. Now, I know all the Dolphins haters and all the AFC East, rivals are going to, throw some salt on you, throw some shade. And they're going to say, oh, you've only beaten the Jets twice. Oh, you've only beaten the Giants. You've only the best team that you've beaten in the 7-game streak was the Ravens, who have also been ravaged by COVID and injury. So I know that people want to say that, but don't let them take your joy, devil. You can't take their joy, devil. The Miami Dolphins, they are 8-7. They've won 7 in a row. They're playing good football. Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback who has had so much controversy and so much criticism, I should say, not controversy, criticism, whether it's he be injury prone or whether he's just not ready to play at this level. He has won 6 of these 7 games. Jacoby Brissett winning the other one. But it's just a beautiful thing to watch the Miami Dolphins go from 1-7 to 8-7. I mean, we were talking about firing Brian Flores at the beginning of this season or in the middle of the season. And now we're talking about, man, this is one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. So it was a tough game to watch because of the COVID and because of Ian Book not being prepared and, the Saints roster being depleted. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And we're going to have to see games like this moving forward. So it's just something that I was telling myself we're going to have to get used to. And as much as it sucks, it is just the reality that we live in. And my name is Barry Long II, not the first, not the third. Shout out to the first, to my dad. I know he's watching right now with my nephew Miles. Shout out to you guys. We are live on CoachellaValley.com, today'scalifornia.com, and today'scanada.com. Now, another game that was affected wildly by COVID and injuries was the Bengals and the Ravens. And the Bengals, come into this game with a trying to decide whether or not who was going to be the leaders of the AFC North, whether it be the Ravens or whether it be the Bengals. Whoever won this game was going to be the outcome, the victor of this division. So we saw that the Bengals shut down the Ravens the very first game that they played, 41-17. The Ravens just have not been really good all season long. We've been lucky, and everyone knows I'm a Ravens fan. The Ravens have been lucky in a lot of these games, and now it's just coming to bite them. You can only but do so much with all those injuries that they've had. They've had injury after injury in just about every single position, especially the skill positions. And it has just been hard for John Harbaugh to stay afloat. And now when you add the COVID to the list, it's just it's even harder. Lamar Jackson's been out with the ankle injury, but the backup quarterback who's been starting the last couple of weeks, Tyler Huntley, was out, and they had to go into turn to a guy who was on his 14th NFL team. He's been around everywhere, just about every football league you could think of, the AAF, the AFL, the USFL. Josh Johnson, 35-year-old journeyman quarterback, stood in and actually did pretty damn well for somebody who just learned the offense. But he came out and he struggled, a little bit during the middle of the game. He came out on fire, struggled during the middle of the game, and was able to at least make it look like it wasn't such a bad beatdown. But he did go. He did go for. Here's another. Oh yeah, he went 28 of 40, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Mark Andrews had a pretty good game, 8 catches for 125 yards and a touchdown. And the rest of the Ravens were basically depleted too. So you had him throwing to guys like Prochet, who was really just a special teams player. Duvernay, you had him throwing to guys that were really not known household names for the Ravens. So the Bengals did beat up on a depleted roster. Joe Burrow had an incredible game. Yesterday, we said that he was our most electrifying player of the week, brought to you by Larry Palmer, Palmer Electric. Call them for your residential and commercial needs. But yeah, Joe Burrow had a great game, a game to remember. 37 of 46, 525 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he hit 3 different receivers for over 100 yards. It was just amazing performance by that offense. And there were some questions after the game whether or not they should have been putting their foot on the gas and throwing passes when they're up by 20 points in a division rival game in the fourth quarter with a depleted roster that the Ravens had. But ultimately, the Ravens have done stuff like that before. The Ravens have done things that weren't considered sportsmanship-like before in the past, running up the score on teams, trying to beat a record by calling another play when they really didn't have to. So there have been things that the Ravens have done that can be considered eyebrow raising to other teams when it comes to sportsmanship. And this was one thing that the Bengals did to the Ravens. I don't think that we need to read too much into it. But despite all of that, the Ravens still have a chance to make it into the playoffs. They're still in the hunt, now in the 10 seed in the playoff picture. But they got a game coming up against the Rams, which is going to be tough, and then against the Steelers. So we never thought that the Ravens would even be in this position with all the injuries that they had early on in the season. So it's awesome for them to even be right here, but I'm not sure that they make the playoffs, and that's just going to be one that we're going to have to keep our eye on. Now, this is Go Long Live. I am Barry Long II, not the first, not the third. Shout out to Sergio Alves, who is watching, tuning in. We appreciate you, Sergio. And Shirley McCombs, shout out to Shirley McCombs. Miss Shirley just told us that they canceled the Holiday Bowl today. So COVID really is affecting sports on all aspects. Now, we had another game that was a dominant game that we watched on Sunday night, 56-14. The Cowboys over to Washington. We need to get a name. Damn football team. If I had to put Cowboys, Washington next year, I'm gonna be pissed off. They need to find out. They need to figure out a name. It's a damn shame they don't have a damn name. But they look like they didn't have a name on Sunday night, getting beat down 56-14. The game was 56-7 going into the fourth quarter. I mean, Washington looked terrible. Taylor Heineke, who was beginning to have a good year earlier on, we thought, maybe he was the quarterback of the future for this team, for this franchise. He has regressed, and he has not looked like the same Taylor Heineke that started off with his first couple of games. And whether or not that's coaching or whether or not that's just him, showing us who he truly is, or whether that's the defenses having film on him and being able to make those adjustments and shutting him down, he's not working out for them. So they're going to definitely need to be in the quarterback hunt or the quarterback conversation coming up when it comes to where people like Deshaun Watson will go, or whether or not Russell Wilson can get out of his contract and the Seahawks will get rid of him. Maybe Washington will be looking at a guy like that. Maybe Aaron Rodgers. But Taylor Heineke is not looking like the guy that they think is going to be their franchise quarterback moving forward. He was 7-22, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. The game got so bad they had to take him out. But, I mean, honestly, I would have benched him earlier. Kyle Allen had to come in the game. Kyle Allen did look good, 8-10 for 67 yards and a touchdown. But keep in mind that Dallas had a lot of their backups guys in. This was garbage time, and you cannot compare Kyle Allen's numbers to Taylor Heineke's in the first quarter. All right, now on the other side, Dallas Cowboys, they look like world beaters. They look like they might be the ones that will win the entire Super Bowl. Yes, I said it. I said it. Now, I know that Dak has been in a slump lately. He's been playing not his best football the last couple of weeks, but that defense has kept him afloat. The defense has been dominant all season long, leading the league in interceptions and takeaways. They had this special cornerback talent named Diggs, Trayvon Diggs, who is Stephon Diggs' brother, who also leads the league in interceptions. Taylor Heineke's dumb. He went straight after him at the first throw of the game. He wants to go and throw after this guy Diggs, and what happens? Right on cue, that guy intercepts the ball. But yeah, I mean they were firing on all cylinders on Sunday night, not just on the defense. The defense has been playing well all season long. Shout out to Dan Quinn for coming in and really making that defense something special. And shout out to all the players that they've drafted. They've gotten Micah Parsons. They've gotten all these guys, and most of these guys were acquired through the draft. Most of these guys were not picked up in free agency, like the Rams have gone out and gotten a lot of their guys free agency on their defense, i.e. Von Miller, i.e. Jalen Ramsey. But yeah, the offense was playing well and the special teams was playing well. The special teams got a score, defense got a score, and the offense got scores in multiple ways. And Dak Prescott was throwing passes to the tight end, the lineman, the running back, the wide receivers, you name it, they were doing it. And it just looked amazing. And if the Dallas Cowboys can stay out of their own way, if they can blow teams out and not have close games where clock management becomes an issue, because we know the one thing that can hinder them is their head coach, Mike McCarthy, and his inability to manage the clock in critical situations during the game. So that will be one thing that we have to keep our eye on. But if they don't have that issue standing in their way, I look at Dallas Cowboys as one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL right now. And Dak Prescott playing beautiful ball, 28 of 39, 330 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Now, they didn't run the ball as well as they can. They haven't ran the ball all season long as well as they can. They got contributions from Pollard and from Zeke, 34 yards from Pollard, 37 from Zeke. Now, if they can get 100 yards combined out of those two guys, and they really open up the passing game for Dak Prescott against good teams, because the Washington football team, mind you, played on Tuesday, and this was a short week for them, and they were a little bit depleted as well. And once they get down and, those bodies are tired and worn down, they kind of gave up. They gave up early in that game. So the Dallas Cowboys are not going to have field days like they did over the Washington football team, especially in the playoffs. They're going to be playing playoff contending teams. But If they can stay out of their own way as far as clock management goes, and Dak Prescott can continue to get all these guys involved, like Cooper and Schultz and Lamb and Gallup, then we'll see the Dallas Cowboys late in January, possibly in February. But what a great game by the Dallas Cowboys. And shout out to all the Dallas Cowboys fans. You guys deserve it. Now, we had another game that was a blowout. The Chiefs versus the Steelers. Now, the Chiefs have been telling us all season long that they're not done. They're not dead. And I buried them along with a lot of other people that are talking heads. A lot of people just in the public buried them. Even the lady I work with, Sherry, shout out to Sherry, Alpha Media. She believed that her Chiefs were done. And I told her, no, the Chiefs are not done. I thought that they were done when they were 2-4. I was like, man, this team is not looking like the same Chiefs that we've seen in the past. Patrick Mahomes was forcing things. They didn't have Edwards-Helaire. They really weren't getting the running game going, and that was forcing Pat Mahomes to force things, and it wasn't working out. And Pat Mahomes just didn't, frankly, look like Pat Mahomes that we know and we've grown to love. The guy that puts ketchup on his steak. He wasn't that guy. And slowly but surely, that defense has kept them alive, kept them around in games, and slowly but surely, that offense came around, and now they're exploding, and now they're looking amazing. And they were another team that was ravaged by the COVID bug. They had no Travis Kelce, who is clearly Pat Mahomes' favorite weapon. They did have Tyreek Hill, but he really wasn't much of a threat in this game. The story of this game was all the other weapons that Patrick Mahomes has. Was that Brian Pringle, who I told you guys early on in the season, keep your eye out for that guy. The McCole Hardmans, the Gores, the Edwards-Hilaire's. So they got contributions from other guys. They got other guys involved, and that just makes them that much more dangerous when the playoffs comes around. Because if you ever do have a situation where Travis Kelce gets injured or he has a cramp in a critical situation in the game and he has to come out and drink pickle juice to get rehydrated on the sideline, you can easily stick one of these other guys in. Or Tyreek Hill gets injured during the game, you can stick one of these other guys in who has made big catches in critical moments of games, or who have been on that stage and who are not afraid of making plays. And it's just only going to help them moving forward. So Patrick Mahomes certainly has returned to Patrick Mahomes that we've grown to know and love. The one that puts ketchup on his steak is back, and he's in full effect. And the Chiefs, man, the defense looking that as good as they are, they look like the team to beat in the NFL. Maybe not just in the AFC. You've got the Packers up there with a better record than them, but the Chiefs, I mean, they are a scary, scary team. And I know everyone's talking about who's the best in the AFC. Is it the Chiefs? Is it the Bills? The Bills have looked good, especially against the Patriots. But I don't think that they are on the Chiefs level at this point right now of the season. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. But as it stands right now, the Chiefs look like we've awoken a sleeping beast, and the defense is firing on all cylinders. And that is what really has been their weakness over this last few years. It's always been the defense has been the weakness. Well, now the offense was a weakness, and the defense carried them early on in the season. And now the defense is as strong as it is. If that offense can return to full strength consistently, man, look out. I mean, teams are going to get blown out in the playoffs by the Chiefs. So we'll see. But this is Go Long Live. I am Barry Long the second, not the first, not the third. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Now, another game that we got to watch was the Buccaneers versus the Panthers. And this was a pretty tough game to watch if you were a Panthers fan, if you are a fan of Cam Newton. Cam Newton clearly has not looked like the Cam that we know and we love. Cam Newton got benched on Sunday. He was 7-13 for 61 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. They ended up bringing in Sam Darnold. They brought in Sam for Cam. And Sam didn't look that much better than he's looked at all in his entire career. He was 15-32, 190 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. They had no damn running game. They're not going to have a running game unless Christian McCaffrey is back and he's healthy. I mean, they've had a couple of guys to throw to, and Shi Smith and Robbie Anderson, but really they don't have a lot of weapons. They don't have that sure-handed tight end like they did with Greg Olsen for so many years. So I don't think that we have a fair evaluation of what any quarterback can do with that team and that O line. But we'll see. And with those weapons, we'll see. But there were a lot of chants that were going down in the stadium saying fire Matt Rule, fire Matt Rule, fire Matt Rule. And I think that Matt Rule deserves at least one more opportunity, one more year with the team. But we'll see. They definitely need to get that quarterback situation figured out. They tried to go Teddy Bridgewater last year. That didn't really work out. They tried Sam Darnold. They tried Cam Newton. They need to figure it out. And they need to figure it out fast, or else Matt Rule, he will be back in college, coaching college. But the Buccaneers do what they do. They've had a lot of injuries, especially with the wide receiver core, with Mike Evans going out, Chris Godwin. But they did get Antonio Brown back from the little debacle with the whole fake vaccination card. And especially with this Omicron going around, boy, you better have your vaccine. But yeah, and Antonio Brown, they invited him back in the fold. He had 10 catches for 101 yards, no touchdowns, but he was definitely a reliable safety blanket for Tom Brady. And when you've got guys like, O.J. Howard, and you got guys like Gronkowski, the offense really doesn't change that much. As long as number 12 is back there and he's got some security blankets, guys that he trusts, the offense is pretty much a well-oiled machine, and that's what it looked like on Sunday. So the Bucs continue to roll. And they look good, man, going into the playoffs. And this is one of those teams that's going to be quietly, not really talked about until they keep winning games, and they keep winning games in the playoffs. And then we look up, and they might end up being in the Super Bowl. This is Go Long Live. I am your host, Barry Long II. Appreciate you for tuning in. Hope everyone had a Merry, Merry Christmas. Hope everyone has a safe New Year's Eve. Just a reminder, we will be off on Friday. We are here every Monday through Friday at noon 30 on CoachellaValley.com, today's California.com, today's Canada.com, and all over Twitterverse, Metaverse, the universe. But we will not have a show on Friday. It is New Year's Eve, and there will be games on. We will have the National Championship College Football Playoff. Starts on Friday at 12:30 Pacific time and goes on all night long. So it's going to be a great tournament, basically. Hopefully it can expand in the future. But right now we're just at 4 teams and 2 games on Friday. And we will definitely break those down later on this week. Now we have one more game that we can break down before we get out of here. The Texans versus the Chargers. Now this was a pretty good game. If you are a Texans fan, which there are not a lot of Texans fans, especially not in California, but if you are a Texans fan, then you had a lot to cheer for. Davis Mills really stepped up. And this was another team that was ravaged by injury or by COVID, the COVID protocol list. And they had a bunch of guys out, but they were able to really step up and perform at a high level. And Davis Mills, who has quietly been one of the best, most accurate quarterbacks in the league since he's been playing, had a phenomenal game. 21-27, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Rex Burkhead, who we know for so many years was a running back in the Bill Belichick New England Patriots system. He had the game of his career high, 22 carries, 149 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. They had no receivers, are not guys that you would know, not household names. They had guys like Conley, Jordan, Philip Dorsett catching the ball. And Davis Mills was able to put up 41 points on a Chargers team that has been lauded as one of the best teams in the AFC a lot of times this season, especially when they were leading that division early on in the year. And when they were winning games and they were rolling, and Justin Herbert was looking like, the Justin Herbert that we've known. We thought, that this Chargers team was going to be one of the top in the AFC, and they have quietly been losing games and are slipping away out of that playoff picture. They are now on the outside looking in. They're the 8th seed right now because of keep losing games. But yeah, when you look at what the Texans were able to do with a ravaged roster, it was impressive. And the Chargers just did not make the plays that they needed to make. Justin Herbert did not make the plays that we've been accustomed to seeing him make over the past 2 seasons. He was 27-35, did throw for 336 yards, but he had 2 picks that were crucial in the game, along with a touchdown. And they even got a contribution from their running game because they didn't have Austin Eckler. So they had a guy named Justin Jackson who carried the ball 11 times for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. But they really didn't have all their horses in the stable either. But you expected the Chargers to dominate a Texas team who has not been good all season long, and they were unable to do it. So when you look at this game, you're like, man, the Chargers, maybe they are who we thought they were. And maybe they will not be a contender for the Super Bowl this season. Maybe they're a couple pieces away, or maybe they're a couple of injuries that need to be healed away from being a team that we thought that they were earlier in the season. But as it stands right now, the cream of the crop is rising to the top. And we knew that the Chiefs would probably be here eventually. They are at the top of the AFC. And we knew that the Packers would be here. They are at the top of the NFC. And then you got teams like the Cowboys and the Rams who are making a lot of noise in the NFC. And a team like the Bengals and the Bills who are making a lot of noise in the AFC. So it should be interesting to see how it all comes together. But it is exciting when we get down close to these playoffs and we get to the in the hunt races and who's on the bubble, who's not. It's never fun if your team doesn't make the playoffs, but it's always a lot of fun if your team does. Now, real quick, let's do the meme of the day. This is Go Long Live. I am Barry Long II, your host. And we appreciate everybody for tuning in and everybody for commenting, like Shirley McComb Swain, who said they just canceled the Holiday Bowl today because of COVID, and Sergio, who let us know his name. Shout out to Sergio. But yeah, real quick, the meme of the day. I thought that this was pretty funny. And this is kind of, going to the game, talking about the game that we saw last night between the New Orleans Saints and the Miami Dolphins. And this is Ian Book in the pocket versus Miami. The Dolphins were coming. They were coming for him. I mean, they were all over the field. They were coming. Every time Ian Book turned around, it was a Dolphin hitting them, slamming them down on the ground. It was crazy. But, yeah, that is our meme of the day. Ian Book in the pocket versus Miami. Now, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Everybody for commenting. You can find me on Twitter at Radio Barry Long. You can find me on Instagram at BarryLong_2. Remember, stay focused, stay motivated, stay inspired. And remember, you're capable of doing anything, so go out and do it. We will be talking more NBA tomorrow, more NFL. And until then, peace. See y'all tomorrow.